Republican presidential field is taking shape, and the long-anticipated Trump-DeSantis showdown is underway, and there are several other contenders looking to capitalize if that polling top two should start to fade in the months ahead. One man who will be hosting as many of those candidates as he possibly can at his backyard barbecues is former U.S. Senator Scott Brown, who joins us this morning. Senator, thanks for coming in.
It's great to be here, Adam. Good to see you.
We talk about Trump and DeSantis. Do you think we're falling into that trap again of, hey, these are the guys at the top of the polls, and maybe it could be totally different by the time January, February rolls around?
I think it will be different. As you know, we had our No BS Backyard Barbecue. We did it in 16. We had 16 of the 18 presidential candidates. Now we're having it again. We had Nikki Haley. We had almost 400 people in the rain. They were outside looking in the windows. We already have commitments from obviously Pence and DeSantis and Scott and Hutchinson. So, yeah, I don't think it's over. It's just too early.
Obviously, President Trump carries with him that significant chunk of support in the primary, and people waited for him to fade in 2015. He never did. Why do you think that might change this time around? Well,
I'm not sure if it will. He does have a solid base of people, certainly, and they look to him, and as they did in 16, as a change maker. They're still looking for that change to happen, and somebody who's going to push back against a lot of what you see happening around the world, trying to push back on our status around the world, because 82% of the American people do not think we're going in the right direction. That being said, if he thinks he's going to stay at Mar-a-Lago and just hang out, it's not working, because you have Nikki Haley, who's been up here many, many times. You have Tim Scott's been up here. DeSantis was here. Everyone starts to come, and it's the New Hampshire way. You have to go and look in their eyes and shake their hands. And you remember the story. I remember it when I was out, various times in New Hampshire campaigning. Hey, what about Mitt Romney? Listen, I like him. He's a good guy. Boy, he's great. Did a great job in Massachusetts. Are you going to vote for him? Well, I got to meet him 5 or 6 more times. And that's the New Hampshire way, and New Hampshire deserves it. And I see you having Ray Buckley on. Well, shame on the Democrats, and especially the federal delegation, for not fighting for the first in the nation primary, which is not only a financial windfall for our state, but more importantly, Joe Biden's not even going to be on the ballot. That's how serious we take this GOP first in the nation primary, and so shame on the Democrats for that.
Potentially a huge opportunity for the Republicans as we look to the future here as well. But looking a little bit backward, where do you stand with Trump? I know you were very critical in the wake of January 6th. Could you see yourself getting on board with him again?
Well, listen, I said, as I did in 16, I'm going to wait. I'm an undecided New Hampshire voter. We're going to have our backyard barbecues, and I made a commitment to everybody who shows up that I will wait, and at the end I'll make a decision and endorse. Listen, he did a lot of great things, but he's going to be weighed and measured like every other candidate. So, yes, you mentioned January 6th, certainly, and you also know that he has some other issues. If I were running against him, and I'm sure I'm not. But, focus on what he did when he was president, especially during COVID, because don't forget, he's the one that set the COVID policies. He's the one that developed the vaccine, and he's the one that was standing side by side with Fauci. So if you're somebody like DeSantis or others, just run on that, because let's stop looking backwards and focus on what's happening in the future. Zero in on Trump and his policies, then look at the border, look at inflation, look at gas prices. They're all up, 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 and the direction of our country is wrong.
Everyone who has tried to fight Trump, take him on directly, has essentially crashed and burned. It's like fighting the Death Star in Star Wars or something like that. I guess Luke Skywalker hasn't shown up yet. But some people think DeSantis could be that guy. Do you think he has what it takes to get over that hump, I guess?
Well, I met him twice when he was here last time. I thought he was engaging. He looked at everybody in the eye, as we've talked about. He answered every question honestly and openly. Listen, he raised $8.2 million in 24 hours. Joe Biden did 6.3. Beto O'Rourke did 6.1 in a 24-hour. Even with kind of a glitchy Twitter kind of unveiling announcement, he did very well. So, yeah, he's going to be a force, but let's be real. I think there's other forces. We referenced Nikki Haley, Tim Scott. You've got some great candidates out there, Vice President Pence as well.
You mentioned that launch for DeSantis. Just taking a step back and how things have evolved in politics, obviously the social media world, the online world is important. Do you worry, though, about how that looks, sitting down with one of the richest guys in the world versus getting out there and doing the traditional thing of being with the people that you want to serve?
Yeah, listen, I don't know if I would have done that, certainly, but it didn't seem to bother the donors. $8.2 million, basically setting a 24-hour record. And it's not just about the money. He will be out and about. He is, did a great job in Florida. He's coming back to New Hampshire. He's going to have to earn everybody's vote. That is the New Hampshire way, looking him in the eye, going to their house, going to the town halls, and doing it the old-fashioned way. That's what we expect.
I guess our local elephant in the room here is Governor Sununu. Do you think he should get into into this race? I mean, there's a lot of people who are interested in him, but we haven't seen anything in the polls.
Yeah, listen, he's a great guy. He's done a wonderful job. He's really straddled the fence and really put our state and our country's interests first. I think he'd make certainly a solid run at it. I think he needs to make a decision quickly because there's also a farm team looking to run for governor. Kelly Ayotte, I know Chuck Morris, others who are looking to move up the food chain, so to speak. But he'll make that decision known. I hope sooner rather than later.
Well, both Governor Sununu, yourself, you embody this kind of Yankee Republican ethos that is, has at times been very popular. Pro-choice, things like that. It seems like there's a model there for the rest of the country for the way Republicans can bring back some of those independents, that old Reagan coalition, if you will. But it's just not playing elsewhere around the country. And this is something he wants to do. He wants to grow that tent, expand the number of people coming into the party. How do you bring that sort of brand of Sununu Brown elsewhere in the Republican Party when it's just not selling elsewhere in the country?
Yeah, you have to go to those spots. I mean, go right into the lion's den and talk to people and point out what's happening with our country. You look at our border, obviously, which is ridiculous, and you look at inflation. It's twice as it's 2 times higher than it was before. Your gas is twice as much. There's so many issues that we're going in the wrong direction. Just bring that thoughtful, methodical, logical, fact-based conversation to others and point out. Obviously, let's talk about the other big elephant. Obviously, the Supreme Court decision on abortion. To think that it doesn't matter to many people around this country, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, the GOP is wrong. It does matter. That being said, we did it right in New Hampshire. We worked together. The House, the Senate, the governor. They came up with 24 weeks. I support that. And here we are. It's funny. We fight for 50 years to try to bring it back to the states, and then the states make the decision. New England is basically 24 weeks. Others have gone in a different direction, but now you have people calling for a federal abortion ban. Isn't that contrary to what we just did 50 years, which I don't support? I think we did it right here in New Hampshire.
Do you think Republican candidates are hamstringing themselves for the general election in this race to, set a lower level weak gestation abortion ban?
Yeah, I think it's an issue. I sure do, and I think that hopefully they can start talking about the other things that matter as well. And abortion is a very personal. My wife had a choice to make. It was either when the baby's water broke at 15 weeks. It was either her life or the baby. She chose life, but it's a personal decision that should be gone back to the states. We made that decision, and is it something that? Yes, I think it's going to be an issue certainly, but there are many important issues that are affecting people's pocketbooks and wallets every day.
Circling back, though, to that question I had about how you and Sununu might be able to bring that to elsewhere, that pro-life issue is the one that's the big stumbling block for a lot of those Republican voters, and yet we might not see a Republican majority as big as they might be, or we might not see a Republican president until that abortion issue is settled.
I don't know if it needs to be settled. I think it just needs to be talked about honestly. And not kind of beat around the bush. Listen, this is my position, but we also have other things that we agree on. And the old Ronald Reagan philosophy, rather pick a number, 80% friend or 100% enemy, 50% friend, 100% enemy. We have to figure out if that one issue makes it go to the Democrats. Well, respectfully, the Democrats want abortion up to the day of birth and sometimes thereafter. I think that's an extreme that many mainstream Americans don't agree with at all. It's abhorrent, quite frankly.
What about you? I know that 2024 isn't on the table, but looking beyond that, 2026, could you see yourself getting back into the mix in the U.S. Senate race?
I'm like many other people. You go around our state and our country and you see what's happening. Our federal delegation, respectfully, they haven't done their job when it comes to the debt ceiling. They should be yelling and screaming for Joe Biden, who, remember, 12 years ago was sent up to the White House, sent up to Congress to cut deals, wheel and deal. He was the guy. I remember I was there, and now he's going to the beach, okay, and he's not negotiating, and you look at him, he either doesn't want to or is not capable of doing it. The Republicans passed an increase in the debt ceiling. You can't tell me that there's not some money you can save recapturing those COVID monies, okay? Maybe having people work, instead of getting free welfare benefits. Those seem reasonable. So the Democrats are not coming to the table. Republicans passed the debt ceiling increase. They did their job. Now they have to sit down and figure it out. That's what Washington is all about. Because if they put our country in jeopardy, not only our national security, our financial security, people are watching. Russia, China, all these other countries are watching, and shame on them if they don't get together and do a deal, and shame on them if they don't get us back from that $32 trillion. When I was there, it was $9 trillion. It's $32 trillion. You can't tell me, as a New Hampshire resident who just paid a ton of taxes, okay, that we can't find a way to save our money. You can't tell me that. So got to tell our delegation to start stepping up, and then throwing away our first in the nation, it's a joke.
If Jeanne Shaheen is running for re-election, does it make a difference to you? Would you want a rematch? Would you want to avoid a rematch?
Listen, I've told Jeanne this to her face. I have a lot of respect for her. We battled, but it never got personal. She was one of the first people to support me. She came in the committee and she spoke very highly of me being an ambassador to New Zealand and Samoa. I don't know what she's going to do, but I'm going to just wait and work hard in this next election cycle to make sure that we can get our country back on track.
All right. Former U.S. Senator Scott Brown, we'll see you at the barbecues.
Yes, amen. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
And we'll be